And so you are training a little bit while you're out there. Are you doing any like legit real deal training and prep for GSP, or is it just kind of like moving around?
Yeah, well, no, listen, I've been training. I mean, I'm always trying to train, you know. I mean, the first day I got here, I landed at, well, it was like 3 in the morning. Obviously, there was jet lag. But I was out of bed at 6:30 running around Lumpini Park. You know, I did a couple of laps of the park, did around 3-4 miles, came back, cranked the weights. Later in the day, there's a punch bag in the hotel. I was working the bag. So obviously, I'm not getting any grappling in. Thailand, Bangkok, at short notice isn't a mecca for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, let's put it that way. But no, listen, I'm keeping in shape. I'm trying to run. You know, trying to keep in shape, trying to do what I can. At the end of the day, there still isn't even a date set for the fight, which is, you know, it's annoying. It's frustrating. I don't know what's going on. I don't know when the fight's going to take place. GSP made some comments this week. What were those comments?
Yeah, he talked because I guess you know, people have brought up your size advantage, and so this is what GSP said. He said, "I have never been afraid to compete at 185 pounds. It's not the fight at 185. The problem is when you train, you need to train with bigger guys. And in order to train with bigger guys, it has to have a chance of injuries." So I'm not really doing a good GSP. So that's the thing.
Okay, because, you know, it's very easy to talk like this guy. He also said, once again, that I am the fighter with the highest stock right now.
That is true.
Highest stock right now. We'll stop doing that because this podcast is going to get very annoying for everybody listening.
Yeah. He said, of course, Michael Bisping will be bigger than me.
He said, the bigger you are, the harder you fall. All right, Jesus Christ, George, good line. Never heard that one before.
Yeah.
Since when does he knock anybody out? The only thing he's going to try and do is take me down. Now, I will say this. You know, because I have all these distractions. I do movies and all this type of stuff, and I do a lot of Fox work and whatever. I have stuff going on. The wrestling, I have got to address the wrestling side of things. So this is a distraction right now because, as I just said before, there's no jiu-jitsu, no wrestling. I can hit a bag, I can move around, I can shadow box, I can lift weights, I can run, I can do all that stuff, but I can't work on my wrestling, and that is what George does. So as soon as I get home, I've got to really start working on that because that's what he's going to try and do. So in that respect, this movie is a distraction. My knee, I tell you what, is still recovering very slowly. I'm still having a lot of pain with that. I really wouldn't be able to wrestle now anyway. So yeah, the wrestling is to be honest, the wrestling is the only thing that concerns me in this fight. Only thing I could get in shape, not spar, not do anything, and beat GSP on the feet all day long. Wrestling, that'll be a different matter.
Yeah, and are there any? You know, I'm assuming you're gonna bring in a bunch of guys or, you know, big wrestlers that are gonna keep on taking you down and, you know, having you get back up. Is there anybody that you haven't worked with before that you thought about bringing in?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't got to that planning phase yet. There's a guy called Daryl Christian that is a very, very good wrestling coach. He was working with Dominic Cruz, TJ Dillashaw, Jake Ellenberg. Works with a lot of people down in SoCal. Most of them are smaller guys. But that's actually great because he's used to working with smaller guys, but his style is very, very fast and he's very defensive. So we've touched base. He's probably going to handle the wrestling side of things, and Mark Munoz hopefully is going to come in and help as well. But listen, Southern California, there's no shortage of wrestlers. And believe it or not, my son is going to help me with the wrestling side of things. There's some of the guys on his wrestling team.
Hell yeah.
My son, yeah, check this out. I mean, he wrestled 2 weight classes at the weekend. Okay, he won both of them. There was a tournament. He went in 2 weight classes. He did Frosh and Varsity. Won them both. Won 2 weight classes up from where he is. 6 matches, 6 pins, 2 gold medals. I'm telling you, he's absolutely killing it on the wrestling front. So, yeah, I'll be bringing in the little Callum Bisping as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean,
no,
you know.
It is. I love it. It makes me so proud. I mean, I never thought the day would come where Callum would be in the training room with me, helping me get ready for a fight. But his wrestling's got to a really high standard. So shout out to Canyon Wrestling because the coaches have done an amazing job and he loves it. He's very dedicated. And, yeah, I mean, that's going to be very, very exciting and cool. And it'll just look great on the countdown shows. Yeah. You know, like my son, the little shit better not out wrestle me. Otherwise, I'll throw the gloves on and crack him one, maybe.
I just see him like in your corner, like screaming at you, "Dad, get up! What are you doing?"
Yeah, he's like, Dad, this is not what we drilled. What the fuck? He'll be doing a Henry Hoof to Anthony Johnson. You know what I mean? He'll be like, oh my God.
He leaves you in the cage as you retire.
Yeah, he's like, Dad, you suck. You suck. I showed you how to defend the single leg. What the hell was that crap? Everybody all says that English guys can't wrestle, and you go out there and do that shit, Dad. Come on, get it together.
You're an embarrassment to the Bisping name. He'd have to let you in the house.
Oh, God, that would be funny. He actually did my corner before for Tally's Lightis.
Oh, that's great.
It was horrible. That's why my next fight was against Anderson Silva, and I didn't want him in the corner. He wanted to do it, but I didn't want him to do it because
why was it horrible?
At the Tally's Lightis fight, as you know the fighters, they all give the cornerman a little cuddle as they walk into the cage. I did that with my son, and I nearly burst into tears. And the Anderson fight was a big deal to me, and I just said to him, listen, I can't have that emotional strain as I'm about to walk into the cage, so I didn't let him do it. But who knows? Maybe he'll be in the corner for this one.
That's dude. I never even thought about that. That's really interesting. Like your son's there, dude. It's a whole other level, dude. I mean, I guess because your son grows up around martial arts, you know. Even when you win, you've gotten your ass kicked. You know what I'm saying? There's been times where you come out of the fight, you win, but you're just still beat up and battered. Is that a hard thing to kind of do in front of your family and your kids? And at what age did you kind of let your kids start coming around it? Or was it kind of always? Because I see sometimes really little kids. There was a famous not Mark Kerr. Who was it? It was
Coleman.
Yeah, it was Mark Coleman, where his daughters were freaking out and crying after he got beat up by Fedor. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Really young girls.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange thing because they're growing up around fights, and to be honest, mixed martial arts it's violence, but it's not really violence. There's a different disconnect from what we truly or traditionally think of as violence. But what is it kind of like as having young kids, and when did you start bringing them around?
Well, let me tell you, Luce, and I don't mean to argue with you there or be contrary, but it's fucking violence. It's violence at the highest order by the most highly trained people capable of putting violence on anybody. The people at the top of the food chain in the UFC are more capable of inflicting serious damage and violence more than anybody walking the face of this earth in every facet, in arm locks, in submissions, pardon me, kicks, knees, elbows, you name it, wrestling. We are capable of extreme violence. And I've said this time and time again, that's why it kind of gets on my tits when you see this new generation of fighters and they're out there and they're like, oh, I'm just happy to be here and this and that, give me anyone. It's like, fucking happy to be here. This is serious shit. People can get hurt. People can get brain damage. People can have, get serious injuries. You're not happy to be here, okay? This isn't something you play. This isn't something you pick up and put down whenever you want it. This is serious. This is life, possibly life-changing stuff here. So don't fucking give me that, oh, I'm just happy to be here, bollocks. That pisses me off. It isn't a game. And no disrespect, like a lot of girls these days, they're all trying to do it. They think it's fucking cool, and all these kids are doing it. It's like, you get fucking hurt in there. This is serious shit. I used to be a good-looking guy before this all started. I am covered in scars. I've got a fucked up eye. We all know that. It's a bit on the wonky side. You know what I mean? But, but then you got these fucking, fresh-faced dickheads standing there fighting for 4-4 or whatever, 5-5, going, yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll see you in 10 years when you've lost some brain cells.
Well, can I rebut that really quick? Just because when I say disconnect from violence, or it's a little bit disconnected, I only say that because all right, I'm teaching my kid how to box a little bit here, and I'm no martial artist, but I know a couple things. So my 4-year-old, we box and we punch, and he a little bit of grappling, just the basics, just because it's kind of a game for him, and I'm kind of giving him a little bit of a foundation. So when he truly goes into a martial arts class, he kind of has some basics down. But it's very much a game. I treat it as a game. There's no part of me that's going, yeah, James, kick and punch, get him, kick his ass. It is very much like the same way that you would play patty cake or whatever else. He knows his combos, 1, 2, 3, duck. He knows how to block. We're working on things in a way that he's not connecting with punching and kicking as a violent act. He's connecting with punching and kicking as kind of like a playful act and something that, when he comes out of it on the other side, he will have the ability to defend himself. And one day he'll understand that it can be used for violence. But I kind of almost look at it as the type of thing where, where I grew up, a punch was a punch. A punch was, you motherfucker, I'm going to punch you in the face. My kid, his first experience with a punch isn't necessarily this violent, angry thing. It's really just a game.
Yeah, but that's because he's 4 years old, and if you were teaching him anything like that, then you probably have social services knocking on your door pretty fast. And martial arts at that age is supposed to be fun. That's what makes them want to do it and keep coming back and learn and this and that, because it is fun. I love it. As I just said, I was down there with Michael Joe White. We had a blast. We had a lot of fun. Shadow boxing and doing this and doing that. Got a sweat on. Felt great. But the objective in a fight is to knock your fucking opponent out cold, or to make him or beat him or do something to him to make him give up.
Well, not if you're GSP.
Pardon me?
Not if you're GSP.
Well, no, exactly. The GSP is just going to try and dry hump you to death, and hope the referee and hope the crowd doesn't fall asleep. But see, the thing is, I mean, the UFC obviously went through that period where there was, gutter press and everybody trying to talk shit about it. Now, the UK was behind the US in many, I would say 5 years behind. So when I started fighting in the UFC, pardon me, and I was in the UK, I had to try and educate the media out here, and I would often go down to London on a train, and with Marshall Zalesnik, he was the UK president at the time, and we would sit with hordes of journalists in very nice restaurants. We would sit there all day, journalist after journalist after journalist after journalist, trying to paint the sport in a very positive light. And of course, it should be painted in a positive light. And I guess I was kind of guilty of playing it down, the seriousness of it, saying, no, we're highly trained athletes and we're martial artists, we're not thugs, we're this, you know what I'm saying? So that the sport was given a good write-up, because they didn't want people going out there and saying, this is thuggery, this is human cockfighting, 2 men enter, 1 man leave, and all this shit. Because remember, that's how the sport was first marketed, and it received a lot of negative press. Now, in the US, it's past that. I would say in the UK, it is past that. But really, that's what you want. That is the best press, and that is an accurate description. This ain't no fucking pitter-patter bullshit. This ain't no walk in the park. It's a real risk every time anyone steps in there. That's why most fighters, they have that fear. They have that adrenaline before they go out there, because they know this ain't no walk in the park, and there's a very distinct possibility that somebody can get hurt. That's why every time I sit there and the nerves come in, and I look at my coach, and I say to Jason, I say, reminds me why the fuck I do this again, but then obviously you go out, hopefully you have a great performance, you come back stage, and you can't wait to do it again, because on the flip side of that, the rush is like nothing you'll ever go through, ever experience. Going out there and competing in a stadium full of 20,000 people screaming and going crazy and being victorious is the highest high you will ever experience. And of course, you get paid well for it, you get compensated, you get some publicity out of it and things like that. So there's all that side as well. But yeah, it's a real thing, and I hate to see people downplaying it.